Traditionally, the high school program had been funded by warrant article in 2012, held for about 10 years, up to 5,000. Last night I looked at it, $400. A bit embarrassing. Whether the original warrant article was supposed to be a single year or not, that's the point. It was like that for many years. And the high school team does have a significant student account. That fundraising budget is about 15 years worth of fundraising, hopes that they could go to further competitions, such as districts or worlds. It's also guaranteed half per night. Years ago, Hartford, last year, down, cost about $10,000. Traditional high school robotics team operates comfortably in $30,000 to $35,000. Talking serious numbers. I'm not talking $400. Fortunately, this year we had our event coverage covered by Schneider Electric, $6,000. This year already, I've already spent a little over $2,000 in robot parts. Got travel budget. Big districts, that's an automatic. So we're looking at what appears to be not wanting to STEM teams here in the town. That's especially when our students come through one of the few programs where they learn vocational, right? Last year we had to teach them how to use a staple gun, how to use a hammer. Skills that they carpenters, electricians, tradesmen. The kids going to Duke, Clark, WPI, Purdue, becoming mechanical electricians, nurses, designers, rocket scientists. So where do we stand with this? I would like to ask, I don't know if I'm allowed to, motion, mentor, but I would ask at least if we could have a motion, that line item.
Yeah, we're teaching. We don't have this program. Don't have the money. Can't continue. The other factor in this that most of the mentors are donating time. They're donating an incredible amount of time. Because we feel it's not only that default budget, but it's all the time that everybody gives to the program. You guys don't even have to pay for it. We just need money for eyes to.
All right, so to make a motion, I need you to fill out a card. I'm going to need your name and address and exactly what your motion, like the dollar amount that you're looking for.
So I'll respond to that as a budget committee member, Harry Douglas, 9 Pleasant Street. I was unaware of a reduction. Quite frankly, I believe this has been consistent with the budget. I am a huge supporter of robotics. My kids have done FLL since they were little. So I think the assumption that from which you're operating, I don't think it's very accurate. We didn't remove it, I don't believe, and I think that they're looking through it now. I would encourage, though, that through the budget process, there's time for people to come. If you're passionate about something, come to the meetings, make sure we don't miss it. But nobody here intentionally defunded you guys. I mean, I would have fought against it. So to me, to hear that you guys aren't in the budget or feel you're not in the budget, to me, that's a surprise. I understand the frustration, but I don't think it was malicious. So I appreciate people who are currently looking through budgets right now to see what happens.
Yeah, I just want to provide the context on that. We're in a default budget, so you revert back to previous year numbers. So the co-curricular line, you're 100% correct. What is in that co-curricular line designated for FIRST Robotics is $400. That is part of a bigger line that has to revert back to the previous year. So when we went to a default budget last year, that co-curricular line has to go back to the year before that, whatever was designated in that line. And that line was that $14,000. We didn't add or subtract to that line in this proposed budget because we just carried over that number from where we were at default and kept all the requests the same as it was there. But this is, and obviously I'm the superintendent, you know, Like, this is sometimes the challenging part when we go into default budgets, right? Is things get, I won't say lost in the translation, but you're reverting back to previous years when there was different amounts of money in those lines, and we can't change that line unless it's some sort of bylaw change to that line. So if you go back to the 25 budget, that co-curricular line is consistent to that because that's what that line was, and when you go back to defaults. That being said, like what we've done, we try to do, you know, just, I want to be transparent because I'm a huge supporter of robotics and stuff, is we try to find money, right? Like we try to do transfers, we try to cover different expenses, we try to transfer from other co-curricular lines, we have a dues and fees lines. But yeah, the reality is by going back into a default budget like that, these are kind of sometimes the unintended consequences of it, is that programs suffer because the ups and downs in any given year. That's why we go through the process of an operating budget, so we can make these adjustments as we go up and down.
Just so you know, so.
All right, so let me read your amendment. The amendment is to amend the co-curricular line in the budget for robotics at $10,000. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Now, if you'd like to speak on your amendment.
Yeah, so I would like to fund it at $10,000 simply because that is what historically the town had funded it. Before the previous changes, had changed it, put in the cut years ago, 3 years ago, to 5,000. It's important to have this money, be able to fund these robots and to perform and compete at the same level as our surrounding towns. I can't compete with Bedford or Windham, Londonderry, Salem, any of these towns around us without a budget that allow us to spend money on this. Robots cost, even a single motor, one of our swerve drives, $800. So for an entire robot, these sorts of expenses, wise.
All right, just so for clarification, right? To amend the line to 10,000, it's a $9,600 increase. That is your intention, okay. And for the second point of clarification, this doesn't actually amend the co-curricular line. It actually amends the whole budget. It's then up to the school board to actually assign those funds, just so you know.
All right. So along those lines, gone back to the 12 point article. At that point, after discussion, find curriculars allowed for the principal to trusted allow those after have that actually.
And just for, it's a great motion. Thank you for making it, right? And thank you for raising the concern. And thank you for all you do for our kids, right? One thing I'd like to highlight is by increasing the operating budget, just for your awareness, if the town votes default, it'll still be the $400.
So, before I have
Yeah.
questions. Paul Ashton, should operating line item at $5,000.
That's not what it is, yeah. So if the town votes the default budget for Article 1 this year, right, it will not be the increase that you're making right now. It'll be the current budget of what's in there now. Just so we're clear.
The co-curricular supplies line, which is what we're talking about, and I've only been here a year and a half, so I can't speak for 2012, but in 2005, the budgeted line was 1,685. This year's current budget is 1,685.
5.
Okay. So for clarification again, the amendment is to amend the school budget by $9,600. Okay? We're gonna call this to a vote if there's no other discussion. All right, by a raise of hands. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your hand. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 20. I will as well, 28, okay? All those opposing the motion, please raise your hand. We have 1, 2, 3. I see 3. So for that, the motion, the amendment passes. So now,
Thank you.
Thank you.
so now, we are back on Article 1 with a modified number for the proposed budget to be $28,411,138. Any further questions or comments about this? The operating budget.
I find the discussion interesting in the context of comparing the budgets presented and in recent budgets. The current budget is a default budget, from last year. And what I find interesting is there's plenty of money to do certain things in there, and we just added money to that. But there's clearly money to do things. Now, the reason I point this out is that the first action that the school board took following vote last year to go to default, the first action was to add an assistant track coach. And that was taken out of the Campbell High School supply line. To me, it was like the first thing. Didn't even talk about why the default budget. So the default budget has plenty of money in it. And one of the things that I'm still troubled about is that when we look at last year's 2025 budget, closed in June of this year, June 30th, there was a shortfall or an underspend of $1,351,093. That was a 5.1% underspend. In this year's budget, added to the 25 budget, there was $454,437. So the difference between, I'm looking at the Fund 10 numbers here that Mr. Cutter pointed me to. So the difference between 2025 and the 2026 operating budget is 7.2%. We now look at this year's budget, and if we add in the potential teacher's contract, that'll take us to a difference between the 25 and the 10 budget of $2,330,152. The reason I bring this up is the difference between the budget just closed and the one that would potentially, if the teacher's contract passed, that'll be a 9.2% difference in 2 years. So it's not as, we say, difference between the two. Yes, sir. What makes up the budget deficit for this year? And I'm going to ask the town council to do me a favor and direct the school board to present to me and to post on the website the report that's referenced in the town meeting of this past year, in which, quoting from the meeting minutes, In preparation for the FY '25 audit beginning July 21st, the administration is ready to provide a precise accounting of how the year and balance increase from the originally projected 800,000 to 1.4 million. This includes identifying a specific accounting error that led to a misreading of income line. Mr. O'Connell said that a detailed report will be available to explain the correction and to demonstrate confidence in the revised total. I've asked for that 3 different times. I've been invited and appreciate to come to the school board and talk about the operating budget, but I have still not had this answer provided. And specifically at the meeting which I attended, I did point out that I can't find out whether it is because I don't have the details of the actual spend that is available onto the school board. So I'd like to ask town council to provide the report that I referenced in those meeting minutes.
Mr. Oblinus, thank you for your question. Everyone in the public can reference the January 21st, 2026 Litchfield School Board meeting. I invited Mr. Oblinus to come to that meeting. I did so because there was a lot of email exchange between the board and Mr. Oblinus regarding this topic, and the board on multiple occasions has shared school district files, reconciliation files to the $1.35 million underspent in fiscal year 25. And in fact, on that January 21st, 2026 meeting, we spent approximately 45 minutes in great detail walking through the exact reconciliation that he once again is inquiring about right now. All the information and links have been shared again multiple times with Mr. Oblinus. They're on our district website. There's no additional information that could be shared.
Yeah, you're going to be allowed one follow-up question because we're not going to keep going back and forth.
And I understand. We'll go back to the meeting, and I want to reference the fact that I asked you for the details of the actual for that year. And you recognize that I don't have access to that, so I can't compare the budget to the actual as far as whether it's positions or whatever. I can see the majority of the differences in labor or in salaries. As we look through that, we see that. But the breakdown, I can't determine because I don't have the actuals. I want to see the report that's referenced in those minutes. I want to have access to it under the Freedom of Information. I'm making a request to the town attorney to provide what was in the minutes.
Fund 10, if you go to our website, it has been there through this entire process. You will see the Fund 10 report is over 1,100 lines. You will see multiple years, including 2025, of the budgeted amount and then the actual amount. The difference is the underspend. You can see it line by line. That is literally the level of detail we provide to the state and to our auditors. There is no other detail. Every school board meeting, our BA, Julie Darling, shares her BA report. Within that report is links to these monthly reports: detailed expenditure status report, summary expenditure comparison report, detailed expenditure comparison report, revenue detail, Fund 10 invoices, reserves, and trust fund balances, plus all the details around our spending and everything else with our reserve funds. It is all there. We literally don't have anything else to provide. It is literally everything in our financial information. Everything.
All right, so we need to really wrap this up, so please.
Lauren Crowley, 4 Callaway Circle. Call the question.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Do I have to vote on the call on the question? No. All those in favor of calling the question, please say aye. Aye. No? The ayes have it. For that, Article 1, you will see on the town ballot as amended. Okay? Just for clarification again, that is $28,411,138. Now, Article 2. Shall the Litchfield School District vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Litchfield School District and the Litchfield Education Association, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at the current staffing level over those paid in the prior fiscal year. Year 26 to 27, the estimated increase, $263,711. In the year 27 to 28, the estimated increase is $483,100. And further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $263,711 for fiscal year 2027, such sum represents the additional cost of attributable to the increases in salaries and benefits required by the new agreement over those that would be paid at current staffing levels. Majority vote is required. Anybody with questions or comments, please come forward. Actually, sorry. Sorry. Here, I'm trying to move it along.
I'll try to read that.
To speak on this article is Mr. Matthew Shoemaker.
So the Litchfield Education Association consists of about 118 positions. It's our teachers, our school counselors, our librarians, school nurses, and our specialists. And they came to the table this year acutely aware of the tax impact to our taxpayers, and that showed in the negotiation. They were very, very reasonable, and the goals of the negotiation really are to try to be able to continue to retain staff and recruit staff. It's not much of a secret that the staffing in education is challenging, and it only continues to grow more challenging. There are plenty of opportunities for teachers to move elsewhere, and so we consistently have to look at surrounding districts and make sure that we are competitive while still trying to honor our taxpayers and deliver a lean budget. And so we did take a look at the current compensation structure. We did make some minor tweaks to our grid to bring us into compliance or into competitiveness, particularly at the beginning, the top of our grid for first-year teachers, with surrounding districts, especially Hudson. We also were able to have a little bit of savings this year from a shift in school care 1.0 to 2.0, which is a change in our health insurance. So that primarily is what we're looking at this year. Oh, I forgot we have more slides. So the year one increase, as is reflected in the warrant question, is the net increase for year one is $263,711, which represents increase in salaries and co-curricular stipends, but the reduction in health insurance. And the net increase for year two is the $483,100. It's a 2-year contract, largely because, as everyone is aware, we had some surprises with respect to health insurance, and given that those are still being ironed out, both sides felt that it was prudent to kind of keep this to a shorter contract while those changes kind of iron out. And with that, we'll take any questions.
Okay, the floor is open for questions and comments. One more call. Seeing no questions or comments, this will be moved to the election moved as presented to the election on March 10th. Andrew, you need the mic? Need the mic? Okay. All right, so we'll go to Article 3. Shall the Litchfield School District, if Article 2 is defeated, authorize the Litchfield School Board to call one special meeting at its option to address Article 2 cost items only? Majority vote is required. Any questions or comments? Final call. Any questions or comments? Okay, you'll see Article 3 move to town election on March 10th as presented. We are now on Article 4. Shall the Litchfield School District authorize the Litchfield School Board to name the baseball field at Campbell High School after James Jimmy Gorham? Coach Gorham was the original baseball coach at Campbell High School and led the Campbell High School baseball team to six state championships. Majority vote is required for this article. On this article, a little dialogue will come from Mr. Peter Plansky.
Good morning, everybody. So Coach Gorham, as Steve said, was our initial head coach, 6 state championships. Coach Gorham was a lot more than that. He was very dedicated to the community of Litchfield. If it wasn't baseball season, he was working the football games or he was at the basketball games. I remember seeing Jimmy out during the season at Little League games, Babe Ruth games, Legion baseball games. He loved baseball. He loved the Litchfield community. He was very much a straight shooter. And he would if a kid needed to be picked up, he would do that. If a kid needed a kick in the backside, he would do that too. He did both of those things for my kid, when my son played for him. He, again, just loved the town, loved the game of baseball, spent a lot of time mentoring kids. His biggest job was not coaching baseball. He wanted to make good citizens, make sure they perform in the classroom, make sure they helped each other. So I would respectfully ask that everybody support naming the field after Jimmy Gorham. Thank you.
I'll take it this will be a question or comment on Article 4.
Christina Harrison, 95 Pinehurst Road. I just have a question. A few years back, we named this auditorium after Philip K. Martin, who was a former teacher here. We, at that time, created a policy for naming our facilities. I was wondering what that policy is and whether a warrant article goes around that policy or if it's in line with the school board policy.
Yeah, so last year, was it November, Superintendent? Yeah, it was in the November timeframe. The board had to set a board meeting, policy FF. This is in line with policy FF, and it has to come to town vote to name, in this case, the baseball field. We had a lot of representation from various citizens at that board meeting. In fact, some even flew up from Florida, speak very highly of Coach Gorham. But definitely in line with policy, and the next step, after that meeting, the board voted to move it forward, and now it goes to town vote.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments on Article 4? Seeing and hearing none. Article 4 will be moved to town election as presented on March 10th. Article 5. Shall the Litchfield School District vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $250,000 to be added to the Building and Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund established in 2005 for the purpose of funding school capital improvements, building maintenance, and repairs in the Litchfield School District. The majority vote is required. Oh, I probably should have been saying, estimated tax impact is 12 cents per thousand. This was recommended by the school board by a vote of 4-0-0, recommended by the budget committee 8-1-0 on this article. We will have school chair, Ms. Sandy Keller.
Thank you, Chairman Perry. So this article is really important for the district. This is an article that we put to the voters actually last year as well for the first time, and you'll note that it does have an estimated tax impact of 12 cents, so we are looking to raise and appropriate for this one. Several of the articles that are similar in fashion, we always try to not raise and appropriate, but try to use our unassigned fund balance to offset. The reason why we're raising and appropriating and asking the voters to support this is because it's for a very specific purpose. We as a district are trying to plan ahead for, in this case, Campbell High School. Campbell High School is approximately 25 years old, and with that, it's reaching its 30-year end of life for the roof. Last year, the town graciously supported $250,000 to start to fund an account to plan ahead for the replacement of that roof. In that account, at the moment, is approximately $626,000. The roof is estimated to cost in 2031 approximately $2 million, right? So the $600 or so thousand is a start to build up an account. The $250,000, should the voter approve it in March, will be added to that account and will allow us to start to plan ahead over the next several years and chip away at saving. So we'll have the money set aside in 2031 to tackle this big project and replace the roof on this building. So this is an important project, and we're beginning to strategically plan ahead and start to put monies aside for these specific projects, as opposed to having to ask the voters for a bond for some of these larger capital expenses.
Any questions or comments on Article 5? Last call, questions or comments on Article 5? Seeing none, Article 5 will be moved to the town election as presented on March 10th. Article 6, shall the Litchfield School District vote to raise and appropriate up to a sum of $250,000 to be added to the Capital Improvements Expendable Trust Fund established in March of 2020 for the purpose of funding the study, planning, and cost of new construction or renovation of existing facilities in the Litchfield School District. With this sum to come from the June 30th fund balance available for transfer on July 1 of this year with no additional money to be raised from taxation. Majority vote is required. Estimated tax impact is 0. Recommended by the school board by a vote 4-0-0. Recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 8-1-0. On this article, we will have Mr. Matthew Shoemaker.
Nope. Mr. Daniel DeWitt.
Mr. Dan DeWitt, okay. Sorry about that.
It's all good. I don't mind Matt. He's good. So, with this article, right, is we have a project in mind looking to go towards GMS, right? And with that, it's a no tax impact, but we are looking, for a March 2027 vote on GMS, and we're looking at a project that could be easily over $25 million. So the more that we can put away into this fund, the more we can help offset that cost to the taxpayers, as well as it can be used for other services, pre-construction or pre-services that we might need in the future. The real difference between the Capital Improvements Expendable Trust Fund and the Building and Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund is this is for new projects, whereas the previous article, Article 5, is really to make sure that we can take care of what we already have.
Any questions or comments?
Dan, question for you.
Please state your name and
Ronald
address.
Lenitz, 15 Ruby Circle. How much do we expect to spend for the consulting and the construction manager between now and next town meeting?
So back in, was it June of last year? School board approved up to $225,000 for pre-construction service in August. And I think we spent roughly 80,000.
And that would be the maximum spent between now and then?
That is what has been approved to date.
Do you have any intention to seek any more?
I don't think we have that information from the architect or the construction manager yet.
I want to speak to this. You presented that most of this is for GMS, or the intent. And one of the things that's been interesting to follow is the progression of the cost estimate for GMS. Initially, the FIC, Facility Improvement Committee, after the last vote for GMS was rejected 2 years ago, had a discussion that the expectation is no school could be proposed, and that generally something in the $10 million range or that nature would be the most they would expect to be able to have taxpayers fund, particularly as it's looking at just working on GMS. That's evolved to recently, the superintendent put into the capital improvement plan that maximum would be $20 million. And that was before the last community forum presentation, in which the consultant brought in a number of somewhere between $32 to $38 million for the different options. And that has no contingency for the town, in it, as you know. So that number will be considerably higher when we add town contingency into that. The difficulty that I have is that we have failed to look at repairing GMS. And when I was on the FIC committee, I spent a lot of time trying to get people to look at that. The school board had done a report in 2017 by H.L. Turner, and just recently did another capital needs assessment for GMS in all the schools. Looking at GMS, identified that repairs in the immediate future would be around $3.5 million. And that's been rejected by the FIC as not being sufficient. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. And the method that the FIC used to get there was simply a matrix and discussion.
Can we get to the point of the question
The
regarding
point of
this article?
The point of this is, I want to just recognize that we're going to continue to spend money on this, and I'm asking, do you have any intent to spend any more than the 225? Because I don't want to have people fund this and be used to continue to add to it. The estimate to get to design from the contract from Harriman is $672,000. That's to get to a construction document. And that's what you'll have if you try to put something for the voters next year. I want to be assured you're not going to spend anywhere near 672 between now and next year.
We don't have it in the trust fund to spend.
Okay. So, how much is there now to?
If we expend the total 225,000 that we have approved, there will be approximately 99,580 left in the fund.
And if we approve this, that'll make it somewhere around 350.
Correct.
And you're not going to be spending the 350 on design services.
I believe that we are still talking with them to get the extension to that. Yep.
I'm trying to understand.
All right, we're not going, this is not supposed to be dialogue back and forth. It's supposed to be pointed questions.
Okay. Simple question.
Would you like to take a minute while the next person comes up?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Christina Harrison, 95 Pinecrest Road. I think, first I want to thank the school board, the budget committee, and the FIC committee for your patience during this process. I know that it has been frustrating and difficult to watch from home. I commend you on your patience and your decorum. The answer, I believe, to Mr. Oblenis' question is yes. If we are to move forward with either a repair, a renovation, or an addition to GMS to solve the problem that school contains, it will cost more money.
Yep.
And I think this town understands the issues facing that school are not just mechanical, they're not just repair-based. There's a space issue. Education is suffering at that school because our special educators do not have room to provide services, which is a fact that you supported back in 2025 when we proposed the new building. So I think the time for debate about what options we need to look for are past. I think the board has already made many concessions on what we desire and what would be nice, and we're looking solely at what we absolutely desperately need for GMS to be. And I hope that this question is put to bed and we can move forward with a plan and see something on the ballot next year.
Thank you.
Just to respond to.
Please state your
Ronald Williams,
name and
15
address.
Riverview Circle. Just to respond to what Ms. Harrison said, is yes, I did support the new school. I made a video, in fact, you can still see it, a couple of them supporting it. The difficulty is at that point, there were things that were presented by the previous administration that turned out to be not true. And without getting into detail, because it's a long discussion, simple fact is, what's happened between now and, or then and now, is that there has been options. The 2017 report that I talked about, I wasn't aware of at the time. The one we just did by On-Site Insight confirms what the 2017 report did, that we can fix GMS.
I know.
And the reason I want to bring that up is recognizing and just noting for people, not necessarily here, but people at home listening.
Ms. Orvalinas, you have failed to ask the question about this warrant article. You have spoken twice for excessive periods of time. Please, I will give you this one last chance to ask a question.
My question is, as part of this fund, will you consider or reconsider repairs-only option?
I believe that is being looked at, currently.
Is that a yes or a no?
I believe it's a part of right now. That works.
Thank you.
Raymond Peoples, 205 Charles Bancroft Highway. First, I'd just like to say that any plan that comes forward from the current FIC is going to be one of the most well-vetted pieces of work that ever happened in the town of Litchfield. And second, I'd like to call the question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peoples. All those in favor of calling the question, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Excellent. So with that being said, Article 6 will appear on the ballot as presented. We will now move on to Article 7. Shall the Litchfield School District vote to raise and appropriate up to a sum of $50,000 to be added to the Employee Benefits Non-Capital Reserve Fund established in March of 2023? This is for the purpose of funding the payment of negotiated employee benefits, including but not limited to health insurance reimbursements, changes in coverage or policies chosen by employees, severance benefits, such as benefits as are from time to time negotiated and become contractual obligations of the district, with this sum to come from the June 30th fund balance available for transfer on July 1 of this year, with no additional amount to be raised from taxation. Estimated tax rate impact is 0, recommended by the school board by 400, recommended by the budget committee 810. And to be sure, I do have Mr. Shoemaker.
You do.
To speak on this article.
So this reserve fund was created to fund benefits for eligible staff who put in for retirement and don't actually retire in the year that they put in for retirement. Those are obligations that we will have to pay out, and in order to level out the tax impact, we created a reserve fund to make sure that those monies are in that reserve fund. This year, as a result of the school care assessment, we've done extensive work gaining an understanding of the health insurance, picture in its entirety and what that might look like and how we might be able to save taxpayers money in future years. And one thing that has become abundantly clear is that we also need reserves in order to be able to hedge those risks. Alternative options will require us to have reserves to hedge those risks, and they may be able to provide substantial savings, but regardless. So this is not necessarily just for the purpose of hedging against future assessments from school care. Insurance as a whole will require us to fund something to be able to protect ourselves. So we are looking to expand this reserve account to include that protection as well. So for this year, $4,725 would be for the benefits, and the additional $45,275 would be to fund that more robust reserve for the purpose of controlling our health insurance costs.
Okay.
That's
Any questions or comments on Article 7?
Claire Chu, 19 Newstead Street. I actually have a question for the Budget Committee regarding the Articles 5, 6, and 7. There's been one vote against, and I'm wondering who that was and why.
All right, so we can't go back on previous articles.
Okay, so I'll
Unless
go with
they're voted
Article
on to be
7, but
reopened.
take note that 5 and 6,
I just
instead
wanted
of
to,
coming up.
just wanted to be clear that you understood that.
Thank you, ma'am. Pertaining to Article 7, I just want to double check, the person who voted against that is not here today. It was Mr. Olson. I don't want to speak on his behalf as to his rationale or why. His email address is on the website. If you wish to reach out to him, that might be the best way to understand his thinking. Yep.
I don't have a question, I just have a statement, so.
Please state your name and address for the record, though.
Pardon?
Please start with your name and address for the
My
record.
name is Timothy Wade, and the thing is that I installed a lot of when I was a software development manager at Cisco Systems, I provided a lot of equipment to all the schools for networking, and I also, with Campbell, did all the interconnecting and stuff like that in the beginning. So I did that. And the thing is that, because I'm, and the thing is that a lot of that equipment is very old, and so it needs to be replaced because it's not supported. So this is.
We're on Article 7, correct? I believe you may be wanting to speak on Article 8. Okay. Any further questions or comments on Article 7? Seeing and hearing none. Article 7 will be moved to the town election as presented. We will now go on to Article 8. And Article 8, shall the Litchfield School District vote to raise and appropriate up to a sum of $50,000 to be added to the Technology Capital Reserve Fund established in March of 2016 for the purpose of funding the acquisition and replacement of hardware, software, and other technology equipment, with this sum to come from the June 30th fund balance available for transfer on July 1 of this year, with no additional amount to be raised from taxation. Majority vote is required for this. There is a zero tax impact on this. This was voted on by the school board by a vote of 4-0-0, and it was not recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 3-6-0. For this article, we have Mr. Polanski to speak.
Hello, everybody. The Technology Capital Reserve Fund, I don't recall when it was started, but I think what you're seeing here today is a little bit different in how things have been done in the past. This administration and the board is really trying to get ahead of some of these expenses rather than continually have emergencies that all of a sudden we need $300,000 for something. So technology has a predictable life cycle. Typically it lasts 3 to 7 years. Our new IT director is working on a plan for replacement. There's a number of things that have aged out, some equipment that is no longer going to be supported after this year. So the hope is that the town will support $50,000 added to that capital reserve fund. The We should see, I think, before the end of the school year, that plan. No pressure, Brian. But the technology in the schools that supports the student and staff devices, the classroom displays and projectors, network infrastructure, switches, we've added a whole lot of cameras to the different schools. The server that manages those cameras is a little bit overloaded. We have some technology stuff that we need to catch up to. And what we're trying to do with this article is get ahead of the problem. Mr. Wade, want to speak?
Questions or comments on Article 8?
So, the thing
Please
is
say your
that-
name and address again for the record.
This is Timothy Wade, 199 Charles Bancroft Highway. The thing is that if the networking stuff isn't approved, and I don't know why the Budget Committee didn't approve to get this thing, we will lose complete connectivity in all the schools. It means that all the networking goes down, there will be no connectivity in the schools, and so we will be going back decades before because we won't have any connectivity with the internet. So.
Any other questions or comments on Article 8?
Amber Flint, 123 Hillcrest. I just would ask the Budget Committee, whoever voted against this, why they voted that way.
Thank you for your question. I'll speak to my vote on this. There were a couple of conversations that we had. If we go back and looked at the drivers for the operating budget, there's approximately a $100,000 increase in technology for equipment that was included in the operating budget. The second piece of our conversation centered around, from the superintendent, there's a new technology director who was hired right as the budget was being developed. He was kind of thrown into that process. He did a very good job of delivering the budget, and he's in the process of developing a technology plan. It wasn't complete at the time that we voted on this. So our discussion really centered around, we had about a $100,000 increase in the operating budget for some of this equipment, and until we saw that fully vetted out plan where these dollars would support that was where my no vote came from.
All right, Carrie, Douglas. I had a very similar reasoning. We've asked multiple times for let's go back a little bit. When I look at these funds, my question is generally, what is your goal? What level of funding are we looking to achieve? And what is the basis for that number? So when we look at the roof, there's a number. So when we see it, I can justify voting for that. When the technology program came forward, there was no basis for that number. To me, it felt like we just threw a number at the wall and we're going to see what sticks, because there's no basis. When I look at what's listed here, there's currently a fund balance of $83,000. The greatest cost of emergency potential costs is $60,000. So currently, the fund has sufficient money to address emergencies the worst case emergency. Now, this gives the time for the department to actually develop a full plan to justify the number that should be our goal number. And a lot of these items too, like if we have a 5-year plan, they shouldn't be emergencies. We should be planning for them. To me, this is oh shoot, the server went down, it wasn't expected, let's get things sorted. It's not my server's 3 years old, it's going down in 2 years, let's plan ahead. These are emergencies. The rest of it should be in the actual budget under maintenance. So to me, I felt that we currently have enough money to take the risk that we're assuming for the current year. And use this year to provide our new director to make it his own. So that was my no.
Any further questions or comments on Article 8? Seeing none. Article 8 will be moved to the town ballot as presented. At this time, I'm going to give this as a friendly reminder to everyone. Start your car. It's cold outside. Andrew, do you have something to say?
Yeah, just a couple things, right? So just in summary for today, thank you again for everyone who came out. I know it's a cold day for everyone. You know, the warrant articles that we reviewed today that do have a tax impact, the Article 1 was amended today for $9,600. The school board will re-vote on that article just after this meeting. I'm assuming the budget committee will as well. So welcome to stay for those two quick meetings. The operating budget will not change significantly with that amended motion. So it'll stay 23, maybe it'll go up to 24 cents. Article 2 at 13 cents, and then Article 5 at 12 cents will bring the total tax impact at approximately 48, maybe 49 cents. The unassigned fund balance or non-monetary warrant articles that were presented today were Article 3, the Litchfield Education Association contingency meeting in the event Article 2 fails. The Article 4, which is the Campbell High School baseball field naming. Article 6, the Capital Improvement Expendable Trust Fund, which again is for putting money aside for Campbell High School. I'm sorry, that's not it. That's for GMS. Article 7, the Employee Benefits Non-Capital Reserve Fund. And then Article 8, the Technology Capital Reserve Fund. And with that, that concludes, and I'll turn it back over to Moderator Perry.
Thank you very much. So with that, everyone, we have completed all our warrant articles for today's deliberative session. Please remember that voting on these articles will be at the CHM Gymnasium at the other end of the building on March 10th, 2026. The hours will be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Town deliberative session will be held here next Saturday, February 7th, at 10 a.m., just like today. Is there any other business to come before this meeting today? Seeing none. Please remember to turn in your ballot sheets to the front table or to the tables outside at the clerk's before you leave. Hearing no requests for further business at this time, I will accept a motion to adjourn this meeting. I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. I now close this meeting at 11:27. Thank you all for coming today. See you next week, everybody. Let's pack the house.